Hi guys, it's Curtis from Shasha Technology, and uh, didn't do a video in a while. So what I decided to do was do a quick time lapse of the process I go through taking AutoCAD drawing into Maya and then Lumion to do my renders. So the first thing I did was I exported the drawings exactly how I needed it. Because we haven't found a proper way to send drawings to Maya, I use 3D Studio Max. Basically, I open the drawing in 3D Studio Max and then save it as a FBX, and then open it in Maya and start working on the model. So you'll see there is actually the floor plan in 3D already, and that is because I use AutoCAD architecture instead of the regular AutoCAD. So when I draw, I actually draw in 3D. So after putting it into Maya, I actually I remodel all the topology, because if you look at the model that comes out of AutoCAD, you will see some strange lines running from the windows and the doors. It doesn't have clean geometry, and sometimes you would end up with problems when you go to render. You would find shadows coming up in the mesh itself, and that kind of spoils the look. So it's a lot easier to just redo the model. And what I do is I have a toolbar to the top where I put custom tools that I use often, so it's very simple to go through and just select the tools needed to do the model. So in this first part of the video, I will just be creating the walls using a create geometry tool, and then I would use the same tool and actually create the roof. So each section of the roof, I would treat it independently. This way, when I go to do the texturing, it would see how some parts of the mesh where the sheeting needs to flow in one direction, it would flow like that if I separate it from the opposite side. So just going through and creating the roof. The next thing you would notice is some of the mesh that I created comes out black, and then some comes out gray. And in 3D there's something called facing normals, and that's the direction that the mesh actually faces. So when you see the mesh look gray, it's because it's actually facing you, and if it's black, it flip upside down basically. In this part, I just opened some previous projects I did, because I created the doors and windows already. You don't need to model it over from scratch. So what I normally do is just refer to older projects, and I pull out things like the doors, the windows, part of the roof. So it kind of speeds up the workflow. At this point, I just rearranging some of the files and organizing the layers, so it'll be easier to sort through things to export. So you can see here, went back in, pull out the windows, the moldings, the doors, and I just copy it and paste it into the file that I'm working on, and then I just start to readjust. So at this point, you would see what I did. It had, I wouldn't say a little mistake, but where I live, they came up with this that they want additional ventilation, so I need to create the windows a bit higher. And when I did the drawings didn't have the additional ventilation, so I just readjusted the model, and in the AutoCAD file I put it in on the elevations. So you can see here, just readjusting the height for the windows to match where the new mesh needs to be. Putting in all the bathroom windows here, just copying the roof, the part for the eave, and making it line up to show how it's supposed to be. you would notice some strange colors. So when you take mesh from any program into Lumion recognizes the difference in objects by the material it has. So if two objects has the same material, when textured in Lumion, it checks it as one. So what I normally do is I would create new materials for the walls, the windows, the doors, the glass, everything like that, and I just assign it a random color, because the color doesn't matter. When you open it in Lumion, you would see the color, and then from there you could go through and you texture it. So here just doing the ceiling for the inside, because going back to the same thing with the normals being black versus gray, you can see if a mesh doesn't have the normals in the correct dimension, in the correct direction, sorry, when you look at it from the dark side, you would actually see straight through it. So if you do a render of the house from the ground floor looking up through the window, and the normals for the roof, flipped, you would actually see the sky inside the house. So you need to put the ceiling, show the ceiling, and then flip the normals for the ceiling. So you would have the gray at the inside of the room, and then the black would be between the roof and the ceiling itself. Just readjusting some of the mesh. This is the process to create a column. So when modeling, like almost everything starts with primitive shapes. So it's basically a cube or a cylinder or a circle, and then from there you turn it into whatever you need. And you would see here now the step. Normally I would recreate this step, but for this past week my keyboard and mouse has been sticking like crazy, and instead of going through the headache, I just duplicated the 3D step that I made in AutoCAD. So hopefully by next week I would get my new keyboard and mouse. I already ordered it, so until then we just working with what we have. Creating new railings here. Now you see I created a new material. I call it rail, just to define the difference between the rail material and everything else. And because the railing has so much as small metal bars, it's simpler to just create a new material and name it one time than wait until you're further along in the process and then need to go and select every little bar individually. So you can see the process is pretty quick. I think the entire model took me about two hours. So as the model itself. So this video is a 3-part series. So in this first part we'll be doing the model, the next part we'll be taking it to Lumion, and then the final part will be Photoshop, where I do the color correcting and some adjustments and everything. So at this point just adding different shaders, so they would be individual materials in Lumion. So that pink is for the tiles, and doing each one of the buildings separate, so the walls would be a different color. Certain things would remain the same, so like the roof would be the same, the windows, the glass would be the same, but the wall color itself and anything that need to be completely different would be on an independent material. So at this point, just creating the environment for it to go on. So I just creating the ground, putting in the road, a little sidewalk. So as I said, everything starts with basic shapes. So that was a plane or a flat surface, and then just subdivide it and add in the geometry where you need it. So this kind of wrapping it up, coming down to the end. Just going through and adding in some things, and yeah, so that is it. So in the next video I would be taking it to Lumion.